Andreas Kisser from Sepultura on the phone with me, and Andreas, the 14th studio album of your career, Machine Messiah, about to come out, mate. How excited are you?
I'm very excited. So happy, with the results we achieved on the album, sound-wise, composition-wise, and all the artwork and video clip is out. So, we record the album in May and June. So, finally we're here. Tomorrow the album's out, and we're very happy, very happy to have this album at this momentum, great label, a great lineup. We have everything really organized and set up for a nice release, so we're excited,
Yeah, there's a few different sounds on the album. I mean, the opening track, which, the title track too, Machine Messiah, it sounds very much, and tell me if I'm wrong here, but it sounds very much like a Derek song, like this may be one that he brought to the table.
Not really. I mean, everything came on the album. It was like really well thought. I think every song we worked out the very strong characteristic for each one of them. So the idea was really to build an album. We were very much influenced by the physical, aspect of the album, the vinyl. The vinyl came back. It was great, like all the classics, like the metal classics, they didn't have more than 8, 9 songs, and the opening of the side B was very important, and what song should close the side A and stuff, so we built the album around type of atmosphere, really to build some history, some storyline or something. And Machine Messiah came from some riffs that I have, especially stuff that I didn't use on my solo album. Back in 2009, I released a solo album, a double album with a lot of acoustics and a lot of instrumental and Portuguese, English. Anyway, so the idea was to have like an intro, really. The song is almost like an overture for an opera. The idea was to create some type of expectation, of what's coming next. And Derek used his vocal, melodic vocal, since he joined Sepultura 20 years ago. I think people are really paying attention to that because it's the first song of the album, which is very different. Sepultura never did a song to open an album like that, So I think that's why people are really paying more attention to it, which is great. Yeah, definitely it's Derek's best work, I think we all did, we all did our best work here. Really prepare ourselves physically, technically, mentally, to do an album and to record an album like that. Jens Bogen was really important to bring all his influence and his style and suggestions, and we were not really afraid to try anything. I think that's the Sepultura spirit always. When we come with something new, we like to explore new ideas and work with different producers, to bring a different perspective on Sepultura's music. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, no, I was just going to say, because Jens has got an interesting background in terms of some of the artists he's worked with, quite diverse, you would say that Creator you could put in with, Sepultura in terms of that kind of thrash influence, but then Opeth, Paradise Lost, a bit more of a doom kind of influence. So what did he bring for you that maybe you haven't had in the past?
I don't know, nothing. It's just like a new times, we celebrated 30 years of Sepultura. We did an extensive tour, for 3 years since the release of The Mediator at the end of 2013. We did the 30-year tour, and we released the Sepultura Under My Skin single. We played songs that we didn't play for so long. And, only doing that, and it feels like we close like a cycle, and Machine Messiah is this new chapter in our career. I think it was very important, that celebration really for us to set some boundaries, let's say, so we could really see this new chapter, with more freedom, let's say, And like I said, we want to really to explore like our musicianship at the highest level. We all stepped up our game. We really worked hard on the practice room. I came, after practice, I came back and worked on my Pro Tools, some lead ideas, and different edits and all that kind of stuff, And Derek and Paulo did the same with their home computers, and Eloy working, at his house. Anyway, it's like a really, regardless of the composition, which basically came more from, everything from the guitars and stuff like that. It is like a band effort, really. And I call it also the band Jens at the studio, because the producer has to be the fifth member of the band in the studio, So very exciting, when you have a type of a challenge like that, to break your own limits, to play as the best that you can, better than you can. So it's something that was very motivating. Like I said, 3 years traveling the world. We visited places like for the first time, like places like Georgia, Armenia. We did 16 shows in Russia, 5 shows all in Siberia. So we visited so many different places, and we played with so many different people that we felt that we wanted to do something different, like every Sepultura album that way, But it felt like this closing cycle of the 30 year, and it feels like a new beginning, So it's very positive and very motivating, to have that kind of feeling.
Yeah, indeed. I mean, you can hear Sepultura on this record, and when I say that, I mean you listen to Phantom Self, and one of the things that you guys have done in the past that you've been famous for is introducing some different instruments and some different styles of music, some world music, for want of a better term, into the music, and you can hear that in Phantom Self. But you're right, it is a rebirth of sorts, because it sounds so fresh. It almost sounds like an album you would expect to come from a band that you haven't heard from before.
Yeah, that's great. I mean, I think we achieved that goal. At the same time, we explore our musicianship at the highest level. Jens was the one who brought the suggestion to use the violins from Tunisia. It's a Tunisia ensemble, an orchestra from Tunisia, and he worked with those violins with Moonspell before, And it's great that we have that intro from that very specific Brazilian rhythm, at the beginning of Phantom Self.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden you have northeast of Brazil and Tunisia together in one track, which was great. It really opened a lot of different possibilities for my lead guitar, especially on that song. A conversation, between the guitars and the violins and stuff. So everything was very exciting, I think the connection we had with Jens was very important, for us really to achieve, the goals that we are after, So like I said, we are never afraid to risk, I think art is risking somehow, Otherwise you'll be copying yourself or somebody else, So we really like that kind of challenge. To get away of that comfort zone, and really try to expand our limits, and so in that way we know each other better, we know ourselves better, not only as people but as musicians as well, So we are a better band now after this recording sessions and working with Jens and reproducing the songs that we did, and it feels great, We just can't wait really to go on the road, anxious for the album to come out, and be on stage. I think that's the whole reason for everything, So that's why we're here.
Yeah, indeed. Well, you talked a little bit before about how everybody works on their own home computers, their own Pro Tools, and does things. But in terms of a writing process for Sepultura, I mean, how does it work? I mean, is it very much to start with that Andreas, you do guitars, Derek, you do lyrics, and that, or is it a combined effort from the very beginning?
No, not really. I mean, me and Derek, we talk a lot about topics and song titles. We exchange, links for different documentaries and books and stuff like that. So he wrote the great majority of the lyrics, But we talked a lot about every subject that we want to touch. And I wrote one lyric, "I am the enemy," and half of the other one I don't remember now. But he was the one really to look for the best words and best expressions for him, for him to express himself in the best way. And Jens, again, was really crucial, to find the right place and the right mixing, the right place for the voice on the mixing and everything. So everything starts really guitars and drums, very, very raw. I have lots of riffs, I write music all the time. Eloy went to his home and he recorded like a lot of drum loops and drum parts, different drum parts here and there. And then I start really to collect the drums and put together with some riffs and do some small cells, I already have some other songs that I worked before, for instance, Sworn Oath, it's a song that I did on my home studio with drum machine and stuff, and just the basic direction, the skeleton of the song, Of course, we developed together the practice room later, but anything can be a song, in any process of the when we're really thinking about of a new album, anything can go. I think the most important thing on that is when you have like a direction, you have like a concept. Machine Messiah, I have that name very early on the process of writing, and I passed through the idea, of the robotization and stuff, and everybody really liked the idea. So we all embraced this idea, and that's when we start really developing the songs and, which songs to open, like I said before, have that kind of construction image of the vinyl and everything, So when you have like a concept, not that this album is like a conceptual album, but you have a direction to go. You have something to say, So I think that's the most important thing of all. And then the rest, you try to reproduce feelings and situations with the instrument and with the music, So basically, that's kind of the formula we have. We find a concept, and then, anything can go. It can come from the drums or the guitars or Derek screaming something or Paulo coming from, whatever, anything, it can work, if you are all together on the same page, going towards the same direction.
I was going to ask you about inspiration for songs and song ideas, but you kind of touched on that there with Machine Messiah. I'm not sure if you've seen it, Andreas, or heard about it, but Google have released it's a new application, or they're working on this new application. And then basically the idea is, rather than, you type into Google an English a sentence in English and it finds the best way of saying that in, say, Portuguese, this is actually capable of, through using the way people use language, of actually talking back to you like a person would. And the thing that they've found is, and they didn't program it to do this, but they've found that this system that they've set up with the artificial intelligence has invented its own language. It decided, hey, the easiest way for me to do my job here is to invent a language. That's some pretty scary stuff. That's the kind of stuff that Fear Factory have been banging on about for a little while, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, but it's not in the future; it's now, right?
Yeah, exactly.
It's like, today, So the main influence that we had to write everything was the present. We have the privilege to travel the world. We see so many different countries and cultures. See how technology are more, involved in certain societies and how they change and influence people to do certain things and stuff. But it seems that we need to find a balance, because we cannot forget to develop our own intellect, our brain and our connection with nature, and not only expect the robots to resolve everything for us, like to do everything, and because we're going to get lazier and dumber, we're not going to really develop or either physical, because everything is less and less with people interacting with each other, Here, even on the concerts, people filming instead of really being there and being a part of the show with your idol on stage and everything. And there's so many different examples, of how, for instance, you are with your friend in a restaurant and a question rises and, immediately people go to Google and find the question, the answer, which is very robotic. You don't spend time talking to your friends. You might remember some other stuff that might come with a different idea. And in the end, the answer is not really important. It's just like the connection with people, and we know each other better, and we know ourselves better if we have friends and family more interacting, with each other. I think on Machine Messiah we try to discuss, that balance, because robots are here. And it's not the the question of like vanishing all the robots and stuff. We have to learn how to live with that, but without losing our human capability. We should really develop our intellect so we could get a better connection with nature and not only create trash. Because in the end, technology, it's trash. I mean, how many in 10 years we have 7 iPhones and so many different styles of computer and stuff and TVs, and you see how many and how much trash and nature have to take because of technology and profit and all that stuff. So I think we could use technology in a much responsible way. So, and we touch on every song. We touch a little bit of what we see in society. Of course, the robots are every time are there.
Yeah, indeed. Well, you've always been a big advocate too of the environment, particularly with the Amazon in your home country. Has that situation got any better? It seems like maybe the Brazilian government is more aware of that and are protecting the rainforests and some of the indigenous tribes that live there now.
Yeah, not really, man. It's really hard. I mean, there are lots of people and organizations that really work very hard to protect, nature and some tribes and animals and the water and everything like that. It's really hard. Politics are very evil and they don't care about nature. Simply, we have a natural, like last year, one of the biggest natural disasters, in Brazil, when the dike, of the this water,
from the dam.
I cannot find the name now. Yeah, the dam, exactly. And it breaks down and stuff, and was like a catastrophe. Like chemicals, they destroyed like a very traditional river for fishing and stuff. Lots of people got killed, and still, justice it's slow. People are they're responsible for that. They're still on the streets, and it's really, really hard. I mean, I guess our mission here as an artist is really to blow the horn.
Yeah.
Make people really at least know what's going on, and only together we can change something. And I don't think politics will change anything. I think it's like an ant work. Like little by little, step by step, by being citizens of your own country, and really more responsible for your acts and respectful for other different ideas, and try to minimize phobias and all that stuff. And that's the way really to connect to each other and try to make a better place for all of us.
Yeah, no, I think you're right there, Andreas, and I'm looking forward to everybody else being able to hear Machine Messiah. It comes out today in New Zealand, and is a fantastic album. I've been spreading the word, my friend.
Yeah, it's today.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, so today here. So thank you very much for your time this morning. But before I let you go, I have to ask, because I know that you're a big football fan, what did you make of FIFA deciding to make 48 teams at the World Cup?
Oh, man. It's a mess. That's another point of like the profit and, politics and all that crap. They don't think about the game, and I don't think it will work, man. It's just too much, too many. Change the formula. We've seen, World Cups with groups of 3. What happened? It's like it's really it's more. It'd be easier for scams in the future doing like that. But, I mean, what can we do? We can really watch and see what happens, but it doesn't seem that's going to be better. But so let's wait and see.
Yeah, indeed, mate. Well, hey, listen, thanks very much for your time this morning. Really appreciate it. Best of luck with Machine Messiah coming out today, and hopefully we'll see you back in New Zealand blowing our minds again soon.
Yeah, man, definitely. Thank you very much. Pleasure talking to you, and hopefully soon we're going to announce dates in the region, So go get your copy. Machine is here. Then the